So today I'm talking about a Kia with the P0442 code, what it is and how you go about fixing it. So what is a Kia P0442 code? Well, it's an evaporative emission EVAP system small leak detected. And what does this mean? Well, the EVAP system was created in modern cars to help contain all the gas vapors inside the gas tank so they don't escape into the atmosphere. They get sent back to the engine and get burnt off. And the onboard computer's seeing a problem with this, so you have to be troubleshooted, know why. And some of the possible causes, well, it could be a bad fuel cap, could be EVAP leak, could be a charcoal canister or vent valve, could be a purge valve, could be a bad sensor, and possibly the wiring. And so the first thing to do when you get this code is to go examine the gas cap. Since the EVAP system does need to be inside of a slight vacuum in order to work properly, and the gas cap is a part of this, it needs a seal. And so go examine it, be sure it's not damaged, there's no cracks or anything like this going on, and be sure to check that seal, that it's sealing in there. It could be good, it could be something else, but if it does look bad, it's probably a good idea to replace it. If you do replace the gas cap, be sure to get an OEM original gas cap for your particular year of Kia, since third-party aftermarket gas caps can sometimes cause problems. They don't seal correctly sometimes. But first thing to go and check is going to be the gas cap. And so if you go check out the gas cap and that all looks good, then there's going to be several components that need to be checked out. And what's going on in the EVAP system basically is you have a hose leaving the gas tank and it's taking the gas vapors up around, and the first thing they run into is a thing called a charcoal canister. And what this does is it stores the gas vapors when the engine's not running. So when the car's parked, the gas vapors are being stored in here. It also has this vent valve solenoid. Now this sometimes can be separate and sometimes it's with the charcoal canister. And this whole charcoal canister is up underneath by the gas tank somewhere. And then after the charcoal canister, the hoses go up and it goes up to the top of the engine where there's a purge valve. And what this does is it opens when the engine's running to let all the gas vapors into the engine, and then it closes when the engine's off so that the gas vapors don't escape. And so the next thing to do is go check out this purge valve solenoid. And it's just a small little solenoid, and it'll be located up on top of the engine somewhere. There'll be two hoses going to it, and there'll be a wiring harness. And first thing to do, be sure that wiring's good. Be sure that it's all plugged in. Anything wrong with the wiring could cause the same problems as a bad solenoid. If you're not getting no power to the solenoid, check for a blown fuse, because this whole circuit is on a fuse. Check out all these hoses. Be sure they all look like they're connected good. And you can't test the purge valve. There's different ways you go about doing that if you wanted to. But the first thing to do is to go check out this purge valve. And so if the purge valve all looks good and everything like that, then the next thing to do is to go check out the charcoal canister and the vent valve. And this is going to be located up and underneath the vehicle by the gas tank somewhere. It can vary on its exact location by the gas tank, but it'll be up and underneath there. And it'll also have a vent valve. Usually it's a part of the charcoal canister, but it can be separate sometimes. So be aware of that. And there's some different ways you go about testing this. If you have a good OBD2 scan tool, quite often they have an option inside there that'll test the vent valve. And then you could go underneath the car and you could hear the vent valve click when it turns on or off, and that usually means that it's working. But also be sure to check out all these connections that go to it and be sure everything is plugged in good. But the next thing to go and check is going to be this charcoal canister and the vent valve. So if you check all that out, if you check out the purge valve, you checked out the charcoal canister and this vent valve that's usually located in the charcoal canister, then very likely there is a leak somewhere and one of these hoses going around all the way up and around to everything. Keep in mind that there's also a sensor inside of here. It can be located differently. It can be located on the fuel pump. Sometimes it's located by the charcoal canister. And if the sensor goes bad, there might not be no problem in the system, but the onboard computer thinks there is since the sensor's bad and giving bad data. So you can go and test the sensor if you wanted to, but very likely there is a leak somewhere inside of one of these hoses. And so what would happen if you took it to a mechanic is they'd use a smoke machine and they'd feed smoke into the EVAP system, and wherever the smoke came out, they know that there was a leak. And so very likely you're not going to have a smoke machine, but what you can do is you go back through and just really examine all these hoses going around, all the way back around, that's going from the gas tank to the charcoal canister, up here to the purge valve, and then into the intake manifold where the gas vapors are going to get burnt off. And just check these hoses for any cracks or any bad connections. Really examine them, because very likely at this point there is a leak somewhere inside of the system. And so that's basically it. I just wanted to give a real quick brief overview of how you go about fixing a Kia with the P0442 code. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.